quickly. Some French company that just put some telephone lines in. And
Wow.
it worked really well. Everything went really quickly, no problem. You know, and then other...
This actually sort of sending. Actually, what would be really good is, say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, just give me that whole explanation again.
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
This right here is a message that's being sent to Trip Nikish, who is the director of the project. He's basically the project director of Focal Point, which is the organization we work with in San Francisco. And I am sending him Novosibirsk regional information, which is I put together just a little sheet about Novosibirsk, what the population is, what the ethnic breakup is, what the industries are, and just general information about the city. So I'm sending that to him now, and as soon as he gets it, he'll turn it around with Chuck, the other guy who works with us in San Francisco, and he'll go ahead and put it up on the site, hopefully by tomorrow or today, quickly. As the line appears to have been dropped. No surprise here in lovely Mother Russia. So, connection is now closed. Now we will reopen the connection. It takes a while to fix the modem again so it'll work. This is not all that thrilling, I'm afraid. I'm just going to
Welcome to
delete
Russia.
this.
The trials and tribulations of working here.
So we got at least that many sent. Now I'm going to delete this because it is just not working. Then try one more time. We have one more letter to send, but it's actually sort of internal business, which Gary probably wouldn't like to be. It's something. The thing about the photos that we were trying to send yesterday. So, but you'll be able to see. We're going to be downloading messages from readers, if it works, if we can get through to.
No, but I...
So you've been in touch with Trip. Does Trip know you're here? Like,
Well, this is what happened.
Okay.
I did some stories for Photo District News,
Mhm.
and the editor there's a friend of Trip's at parenting, and I had a parent.
Hold on a second. If everything goes as planned. No, Kara. I'll try again.
And I told them that they should use Gary's pictures, and they didn't know how at that point, so now I'll tell them they can call contact.
Connect with the Russian scientists in Russia using email. Oh, I think we just lost our connection here. Okay. Alright, let's try another time here.
Welcome to Russia.
Yeah.
I'm trying to communicate.
I mean, it's
with
amazing.
phone
Like
lines.
every city. First, Gary at first really wasn't even 100% sure all of this would work. I mean, he got to St. Petersburg. He's a photographer for Contact. Images, like he said today. So he's had a few Jane jobs here and there, but he's really been sort of going full time on this for quite a while.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I was obviously really ecstatic when he finally picked me, and I knew it would probably be difficult, but on the other hand, what a great opportunity for me.
These are responses from readers.
Right. This is people who have written to us, who have seen the site. Oops. And that is it.
That's great, they loved it.
Let's read this really quick and see what they have to say. So we don't need to reset the modem. Stop the modem. Stop the modem. Just stumbled on the site.
One of the most impressive things I've seen on the web. Not on the web.
That's great. That's a lovely message.
That's terrific.
Very nice message, yeah. It's interesting for us since we haven't seen, we know basically how it's set up with like going from one thing to the next thing and having the hypertext and all that stuff, but having not actually ever navigated the site ourselves, it's really interesting to hear what people had to say about it. Oh, that's very nice. From Blackwell, North America. For anything you haven't seen yet. Let's see, regional info. This is what I was just trying to send. It was the Novosibirsk. You can see, I'll show you how short it is, and it was taking. So, yeah, just general information about the town population when it was founded. I get Trip and Chuck to fill these in for me because I don't always have access to that information here. Ethnic makeup of the city, its industry, and then just sort of general information about the city itself.
There's my queries. Find out
There's
if
your
we could come
queries.
film these
Let's
guys.
see. Потому что нам как-то нужно сегодня, если возможно, узнать что-нибудь конкретно. На почте, да. Ну да, мы вот ждали целое утром, потом поняла, что мы как-то... понятно. Ага. Ты узнал для нас. Он там будет, да? Понятно. А скажи еще раз адрес какой? Вот это какой институт там? Сейчас, минуточку, тогда мне нужно узнать от Геры. Сейчас, подожди. I finally got audio show. He's like, oh, I never made it home last night. I had to go to work, whatever. So he says that if we go to this thing at 3 o'clock where the concert is, the guy that I saw on the metro yesterday will be there. There's going to be a ton of young people, and we should be able to find some way to make some contacts that we want, if we want to do that option. That starts at 3. He says he'll meet us at Studentsky if we want to do that.
That's where it is, back there?
It's near the hotel. It's near the hotel.
My gut feeling is to go more with this journalist, but if, I don't know what's going on with him, I'd say, can you just give us the address of where to go?
А скажи, давай делаем так, потому что мы сейчас пытаемся вот как-то соединить с этим журналистом, вот, а пока не получилось. Скажи...
People looking over your shoulder, you feel that, like, I guess it's where, I never worked for a daily, newspapers, maybe it's the same as that, but I mean, you really feel that, like,
No.
You've got to deliver,
Да.
because people are waiting, it's a little more extra.
Ну, понятно. Ага, ясно.
We knew actually focal point. There was this guy Chuck, and Shrep, me. The original thinking of focal point, which is the website, and she was pregnant. And she had her kid, and I think that she just decided she didn't have the time, the energy to put into it. But I don't know if she's still wired or not. I don't know if she kind of.
I don't know, because they didn't add much to the details because they have an online page. And they sent them out, what do you think? And also I said, look, you guys know Americans, whatever. And then Chip said, why don't you just do what? So I told him, then I lost it. And then I kept saying to him, this is really great, it's really interesting, it's really important. Because I said to him, much more interesting than why you're staying so busy. I mean, like, without they would have been more interesting than you.
Sure.
Taking a hit on the phone. Just too upset.
I remember. Take it. So who do you write for? No.
Go to it, yes. And so what he's saying is that they will bring them to a cafe and sort of gather after that. If we want to go to this concert and arrange something with them, we can do it, but we can't get in for free. So the tickets are like 50.
Ты говоришь по-английски?
Очень плохо.
Ты будешь там?
Ну вот если вы туда приедете, то я там буду. То есть, как бы,
What time?
это 6 часов вечера.
But the journalist, I mean, if we do end up getting to meet with them, I don't know if we'll be able to work beyond that anyway.
Okay.
Хотя я думаю, что вот эти расходы, они совершенно ни к чему. То есть, вот я говорю, дайте мне телефон, Вот, и я думаю, что вот как-то сегодня это можно и вы просто приедете на то место, чтобы я просто знал заранее, что это так вот действительно проблематично, и вам надо это очень быстро сделать. Я как бы это сделал вчера. То есть мне как-то вот, меня поставили, вернее, вот меня ввели в курс дела, но не поставили перед фактом. Вот так.
Yeah, basically, we don't want it. You just want to talk to the
Да,
person.
сначала нам хотят поговорить.
Explain what we're doing.
Сначала будем...
Но я думаю, в этом проблемы нет.
Ну, давайте когда...
Наша непрекаянная любовь ранит
Okay, why don't you just tell me a bit about how this started, like where it came from?
The idea was basically out of like a frustration from traditional kind of printed media right now. I mean, I normally work as a photojournalist. And not just myself, but other photojournalists right now are just kind of, hold on a second, I'm winking it.
So why don't you tell me a bit about how all this works? I mean, what is this all about?
Okay, well this is the camera, the photograph side of it. This is the camera that we're using, which is it's a digital camera. There's no film involved. And the upper part of the camera, you can see, is just a regular Nikon camera. It doesn't operates exactly the same as the regular camera does. But the bottom part of it, which is actually made by Kodak, is digital. And there's a digital sensor where the film would normally be in the back of the camera, where you would read the film. There's a digital sensor there. And that's attached to a diskette, which is a PCMCIA diskette, which holds 260 megabytes of information, which translates into 157 photographs. And with this diskette, once I've taken the pictures, I can just insert it directly into the computer and look at the pictures and edit them from there.
Okay, so can we do a little demonstration here?
Sure. Probably better if you get in. I need you in the light actually this time.
Okay,
Maybe
hang
we
on.
can we can put this back in. Okay. If we can get like. I need to get you. How is it? Am I too backlit for you here? If I get-
You're in shadow a bit on your, a lot on your left-hand side,
Yeah.
but now it's totally in shadow.
Okay, well I'm gonna have you do that. You know what I'm gonna have you do? Hey, hold on a second. Let me get. Hey, now you go ahead and drop your camera. Just kind of drop it. Can you drop it with? We can.
Drop it like,
Well, just kind of. You can keep it going if you want. Just
Okay.
Like that. There we go. Like that. And do a few shots here. Gonna make you famous. Probably this will end up on the internet as well. Okay, let's come over here for a sec. Okay, drop your camera one more time. A big smile for Mom. Wave to Mom. There we go.
Hi, Mom.
There we go.
Hi,
Okay.
Canada.
Okay, we got it.
Okay, now what happens?
So now, take the diskette out. Insert it into the want to do a screenshot here? Or?
Yeah, well, let me get behind you.
Now you better get out of the glare.
Okay.
So now that diskette shows up here on the screen.
Mhm.
The diskette here is on the diskette from the that I just stuck into the camera is now appeared on the screen, and now we need to access those photographs, and we need to use an editing software.
So this, now we're just into regular old computer hacking.
Yeah, it's hacking,
Playing.
but playing, and right now we're using Photoshop as a real traditional imaging software, and what we need to do is we go in, it's called acquire the pictures. Oops. some pictures from the previous, that were still on the diskette. From the last city we were in. Oh, actually, maybe. Oh, you know what? Oh, it's like in a different folder. There's also folders inside the computer that have pictures in it from the previous job, so now I need to find where you are. So here it is, photo 1, that's the diskette.
Wait, don't move that yet. Can you just move
Sure.
for one tiny... Okay, so just point to it and do that again.
Okay, so this is photo 1. This is the diskette, the same diskette that you saw on the screen there. Now we're going to select that. Those are the guys from the Sprint office. And here we go. Our favorite little video journalist appears on the screen. So these are just little, what they're called thumbnails. It's just a way for me to quickly look at the pictures and try to make some decisions as far as, you know, what's interesting or not. Anything that's interesting to me, I select like this. And I kind of like, which one do you like better, this one or this one?
Top right and bottom left.
Top right, this one?
Yeah, and bottom left.
Bottom left. I kind of like this one too. Nice.
You like that one?
Let's go with the bottom left and bottom right. How's that? Okay, so
Okay.
I've selected those two. And now we're going to acquire them. This takes a few minutes.
Okay.
Which means we're opening up the pictures to look at them. And each picture is 4.4 megabytes to begin with.
Did you ever have an Apple II Plus when you were a kid?
No, I didn't have my first computer I bought last September.
Wow. Well, my parents bought us an Apple II Plus in 1981, and it had 48K.
48K.
48K, and it was an obscenely expensive thing, like $3,000. They can put 50K on a watch now.
I'm not getting power here. Sorry. Another one's gonna have to open up too. So you see it's like a real slow process, and this is like one of the things that I didn't really count on as how much time is going to be spent in the editing, because I mean I can shoot 300 pictures in a day easily, and you can edit them only so much when they're in that small little size, and you get down to 5 pictures that are similar and you want to see which one is really the difference. I got to open up all 5 pictures, and open up 5 pictures takes, you know, a long time. And then there's a lot of work to do after the picture's opened up. So we spend hours watching the screen do this.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, watching
Daisy's good.
Daisy's Girl, I was trying to come up with a computer analogy, but somehow it just...
So there we go. There's your picture. The pictures are in color, but this project is in black and white, actually, and I wanted to shoot in black and white. And when I'm shooting, I'm thinking in black and white, which is kind of a different mentality. And also, black and white photographs hold a little bit less information, so it makes the image size smaller. And that's what we have to do now, is we have to decide which picture we like, and we want to make it as small as possible so that we can send it over the computer lines, the telephone lines, as fast as possible. So that's 1, and that's 2. I kind of like that one.
I like 2 much better.
Okay, so we're going to mix 1 then. We'll just work on 2.
first thing I do is make it a black and white image.
Now, could you print that out on a color printer?
If you had a good printer, yeah. You need a pretty high quality, like a laser printer, basically, you get it. Now, normally, if I was doing this like at home, or if I was working on other photographs, within this program, I can do all kinds of things. I mean, I could come in and, work on just, lightening up your eye or something if there were some shadows in your eyes or whatever, or I could, pick different places, be a black tooth or something like that, or I could just adjust the overall kind of color and tone of it. But the problem is that on these smaller computers, the screen is kind of limited, so I don't touch the pictures. I get them ready to go, and then we send them to our editors in San Francisco. At that point, they do all the kind of adjustments and make it lighter, darker, or just clean up the photograph if they want.
So if I had zits all over my face, you could get rid of them?
We could get rid of all of them. But we wouldn't do that because we have some journalistic integrity. We don't alter the images, we just do like you would do in a darkroom, which is like, make them lighter, darker.
Yeah, but zits are okay to alter, I would think. Journalistic integrity.
We just have to
aside.
note that in the caption that the zits were taken out of the photograph. So now you can see by going to black and white, we've dropped the image size considerably already to 1.7 megabytes. But that's still way too huge to send through that, for us to send through the computer lines. We want to get down to like about 36 kilobytes. So the next thing we would do, assuming that we like the picture, is change the image size. And for a computer screen, the resolution is not that high. You don't need that high resolution. 72 dots per square inch DPI. It's like the highest resolution that any computer screen, or that most computer screens go to. So as opposed to like print, where it would have to be like 300 DPI or 200 DPI. So we don't have to change. That's already set for that. But right now at 72 DPI, we're at 1524 pixels in width, which is way, is much bigger than what we need. And I mean, in inches, that's 21 inches wide. We don't need that. The images we're using on the screen are much smaller. So we can reduce that to 360, which is all of our pictures are running at 360 pixels, which ends up being oh, I see. That's not. Never mind. 360 pixels. So do that. And so that is the actual size that it's going to run on the computer screen. So now it's down to 85K basically. And we need to get it a little bit smaller still. So the last thing that we can do to the photograph before we send it is compress it. And we do that. There's different formats that you can save a photograph in, and different ones compress it. And basically what compressing does is it looks at a photograph and it finds areas that have like similar types of information, and it kind of it shares the information. I don't know how to, maybe I'm not explaining it like really what compression is about, but it makes it so you need to use less information. And depending on the photograph, if you have just a blue sky, you can really compress the image very much more tightly. So we have I'm going to save it in a JPEG. So first we have to give a title to the picture. We have a
Title?
Yeah.
YTV Rules.
YTV Rules. Okay. I get it when I capitalize.
Capitalized, definitely.
Okay. A little kind of no dash.
no dash.
Is it one all together?
Yeah.
YTV?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Oops. Okay.
Yep. Now what happens?
So now we're going to save it. We have a, in that when we want to do the compression, you're given an option if you want to, how much compression you want to use. And depending on, the more you compress the photograph, the more quality that you lose in the image. And we don't want to lose too much quality, so what we do is we kind of bring it up to the excellent image quality and fair compression. And we save it. So now, if we close this here, your picture should pop up here in a second. And there you are. That's it. That's your file, basically. So now if we go to this file, you got it there?
Yeah.
You can get information on it and find out the size of the file. So here, get info. And it's down to 32K is the actual file size. So that's a manageable file to send. So we've gone from 4 megabytes down to 32K. And that, with the phone lines that we're using, 32K can be between 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
It's smaller than that Apple II Plus that I got when I was a kid.
There you go. You could have fit that picture on that Apple II Plus.
Amazing.
So then, I don't know if you want to see the process of setting it up to send or not.
Sure. Why not?
Okay.
Let me do something with your fingers so I can just get some finger
This
shots.
is a lot of mostly mouse work here. I'll start setting up this here. Sprint.
You don't have Russian font on these?
No, sorry.
Bummer. Wow, that's a really interesting mouse.
Yeah, it's a trackpad.
I've never seen
Just
that.
goes by touch.
Is this like new Apple technology?
This is new Apple technology.
Those of us who live in Russia, like, they're 5 years behind still?
Yeah, it works good. Actually, I didn't
Wow.
like it at first. I fought it at first.
Wow,
but,
look at that. Wait, move it again?
it goes
look
by
at
this.
that.
Goes with the speed of your finger. If I can go like from here to here very slowly. And that's just
And it moves.
and it moves not just slowly, but it moves a short distance. But I can go if I go fast, I can move just a short distance with my finger, but the mouse goes all the way up and down.
Wow.
So it's totally.
Is this available for all?
It certainly is.
Wow, geez, you learn something new every day.
Yeah,
Okay, where are we?
Okay,
What's
so now
next?
next thing we got to do is we got to take the picture and get it ready to send it. So we're using Sprint is the company that we're using to send all this. One of our sponsors actually. So we use this.
Sprint? Who's Sprint?
Sprint.
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 No. I believe me. I was gonna say we're using their software here.
Runners, right? It's a
running company.
It's a running company, like Nike. Who? Nike? Like Goddess of Victory, right?
That's right.
No companies here.
Let's see here.
Where are we?
We want to go to new message. And first thing we do, since we have editors in San Francisco and we're sending a lot of photographs, we code each photograph.
You code each photograph.
So each
Secret
photograph we're
code.
given a secret code, which would be this C for Chronicles, which is kind of the journal. What day is today?
October 21.
21. So then it's 2, it's the second month of actually it's the third month of our trip, but it's coded 2 and 2-1. Oops. 22, so. And we'll call it A.jpg. JPG means JPEG, so they know that this is a photograph that's coming.
Okay.
And then we would do a little caption for each photograph. So we call it, so they know what they're looking at. We'll call it that Crazy Sandy. And her camera.
That's me.
That's you. And just for the hell of it, Y. TV. Just one more time. Okay, so that's
Beautiful.
the caption, so they know what's going on. And then what we do is we need to attach the photograph to the message. So I think I'll get the photograph here. TV rules. Okay, and so now you're attached to the file. And it's basically, you're going to have to address it.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Okay. So we need to basically decide where we want to send it, and our editors are called Focal Point out of San Francisco. So we address it to them. We save it. Hold on a sec. See there, this is you right here. You're saved and you're ready to go.
Great. Now what happens?
Well, now we would actually send it. We kind of, I guess we can go through the motions of calling. This is not working too well here.
All right.
So we have a modem that's built into the computer, and the modem is what allows two computers to talk to each other. And we just stick our phone line here directly into the back of the computer. Okay. And in theory, just hold on a second. I want to do something here to delete this out. It's in a local phone number, and which we've already done. And now we just push this little button for the outgoing messages. He's dialing the phone. He's dialing because it's rotary, not tone.
There's no such thing as tone in this country.
Still connecting to the computer.
It's supposed to be wild.
Like a monumental moment.
You mean that it's actually happening and working?
Well,
so
here,
quickly?
right now. No, actually, I mean, we've had really good success everywhere we've gone, but we've had problems with these phone lines.
Let's get a position here.
So you can see up here, it's telling us what's sending. And it's showing us the code number and YTV rules, and that's where we're sending it to. And up here it tells us how long it's going to take to send this image, if it sends.
8 minutes and 1 second.
Right, but that, that should still be moving. I think I have a feeling we're dead now. That's not good. It just died. Come on, we can try it again if you want. I mean, it depends if it's important to you to have it.
Here we go again. Just burying his Apple computer. A little technology and a shitty phone line.
Oh, I'll tell you, it varies from city to city. Sometimes we really have no problem at all.
Hey, I live here all the time. I have problems every night.
That's not good. That's not a good sound.
No. That's a glass net sound.
It's a pretty song.
Hello.
That's our Russian phone line. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you explain what that is?
No.
What
Can
is
we
that?
hear it? That's my daughter.
That's your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cute, Gary.
Gary. Definitely East Coast.
As opposed to.
Gary, West Coast. I like Gary. Most of my friends are East Coast. East Coast. They call me Gary. My grandmother used to call me Gary.
Gary and the Edge.
That's good. That's good.
Music
That's
to our
good, isn't it?
ears.
It's funny how we love that sound.
Yeah, those of us who spend our entire lives trying to tap into GlassNet love that sound because it's so rare.
How come you get 24 and I'm theoretically 26?
26, what?
I mean 96.
What, because
Baud rates?
Yeah, right now because I'm using a different line that's a little bit slower, but supposedly more sure. So sometimes there's different, like even in the same city, like 3 or 4 different numbers we can call and try. Let's go. It crashed.
Welcome to Russia.
Welcome to Russia. Yeah.
YTV News and the Russian Chronicles, an unbeatable combination.
So now we get out wires.
Some more wires.
More wires.
We like wires.
Wire, wire, wire.
We need to. Is this back to
You
work?
know how you say wire in Russian?
Put it on.
Prava.
Prava.
I just learned that word last week, so I was very excited.
Prove it, isn't it? I thought it was.
Oh, maybe. I thought the person told me it's a. Well, but prava is a law. No, that's
Yeah, I know.
pravda.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. That's
Okay,
really
so
good. Make sure. Okay.
Okay, so we just have a simple little jack going from our recorder here into the computer. And now we need another software to edit the sound. Oops. Called Sound Edit. Very original.
ooh,
You know what though? I'll show that. Do me a favor.
yes. Do not show.
I don't know if we have any cups here. What happened to all those glasses?
This is gonna get us some sugar for
Here I
coffee.
go. I'm getting sugar. We have a samovar and coffee, but no sugar, which is an unacceptable situation, even in Russia.
Get some cream if you can too.
Cream too. I'm going after cream.
Cream in Russia.
Maybe they'll have half and half. Maybe they'll.
Sure, half and half, just like they have skim milk. in the-
Amaretto flavored.
Yeah, I think I might get some amaretto or some. Yeah. Okay. See
Yeah.
you guys later. Be back in about 6 hours after I find one.
I think more like 24 after you like hop on an airplane, go to the Western world,
Right,
and
exactly. I'll see you
find
guys in
some
a
of
week.
this stuff.
Enjoy all this technical stuff.
Okay,
do
we're
you have
about
any money?
ready to roll here.
Rollin', rollin', rock and rollin'. Oh, we need money.
Money.
Money,
Look at
even
this.
in
Gary
Russia.
hands over his wallet to me,
Thank you, thank you.
and I take his wallet.
That's
This
how
is
much I-
trust.
that's how much
this
I
is
trust
trust.
her.
See that? We didn't even know each other a month and a half ago. Oh, I have his Blockbuster card too.
Yeah, you can really use those in Russia.
You will never see me again. Bye.
Quick, get those Beverly Hills Cop videos.
Go get Yvonne the Terrible, all 4 parts of it.
Jesus.
Bye, Lisa. Lisa said, Lisa.
Okay, back to the serious part of this project.
Serious? Who the hell wants serious?
We're ready to go here. We've got.
I think I'm totally out of focus, but
Oh, yeah?
I think I'm just
Okay.
drunk.
Well,
Okay.
okay, you
We
ready?
don't know what's happening. Yes, what happens
okay,
now?
now we're gonna record you. Start recording here. We play our computer. And it should, in theory, that is you talking right now. And that's probably it. Okay, so we can stop. Oops. How many times did you do it? 2 times? We'll look at it.
2 or something.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
That should be you there. You take this off. Oh,
Look, there I am.
wait, stop. What's up here? This is probably you right here.
YTV News and the Russian Chronicles, an unbeatable combination.
Actually,
Yeah.
this sound, I mean, people just talking, because it works great. I mean, that sounds great.
YTV News and the Russian Chronicles, an unbeatable combination.
Yeah, you get rid of that if it's meant to be the headphones.
Do that one more time.
YTV News and the Russian Chronicles, an unbeatable combination.
I mean, so there's still a lot of sound, but it's still pretty cool.
That is really awesome.
I know.
Do you still have, like, the guys chanting from Azerbaijan?
Yeah,
Can I hear that?
sure. I think I have the guys chanting from Azerbaijan.
You were the worst.
Sound files? Well, I might have, because the sound is still on tape.
Actually, you can hear it on the tape if you want. Or do you want to hear it through the computer?
I want to hear it through the
Oh,
computer.
you're going to film it.
Yeah.
Let's see, where would I? I'm not sure I got the sound from Azerbaijan. Let's see. Now, I think I trashed all the sounds because I know we have it saved on tape.
Okay.
There's no reason for me to take the computer space up to do it. I may have sounds of this kid. Let's see what I have in here, but I'm pretty sure it's just the sound of this. These are actually the actual files that got sent. Anyway, it's just a kid talking in Russian.
I'd love to hear it.
We have one. The sound really sucks in this though.
Okay, we're rolling.
So when you would come to this on the World Wide Web, this picture would be built into a series of text, very similar to what you'd see in a magazine, and there might be a little button underneath it that would push, and you might probably wouldn't even tell you what you would hear when you push the button, so you would just be intrigued to push the button, and you would hear.
YTV News and the Russian Chronicles, an unbeatable combination.
And it's just that little extra combination of, I think, sound with a photograph is a real powerful. There's real powerful possibilities.
It's amazing. Go anytime.
For YTV News, this is Sandy Wolofsky in Novosibirsk, the heart of Cyberia. For YTV News, this is Sandy Wolofsky in Novosibirsk, the heart of Cyberia.
Well, I mean, this is normal for the shopping thing. I mean, this is just
Yeah,
getting about
yeah,
the
I
street
know.
shopping. You want to talk about the shopping. I mean,
No, I'm just saying, I mean, it's not even, I don't know. So if we get separated,
Наверное, знаешь что, пойдем сейчас это трудно.
They're right where you are. Look at this man's face behind. Oh man.
I'm gonna go that way, but
Наш не может что снимать.
Ходи. Что интересно? Что-то. Так, не взял, да? Да. Блядь, почти раздал. Ножички только поменяли, руки есть, соломочка пошла.
Bronco, slices, dices.
Эй, Манька, бригада.
Calm now, but do calm.
Да, ну, американского.
Сколько стоит? Сколько стоит?
12 всего-навсего.
12.
Рецепт корейской морковки.
Ой, какой хороший нож.
Терочку приобретаем с рецептом корейской морковочки. Последние терочки остались. Какая стружечка. Какая стружечка.
А этот потом куда денете?
Корейцам продаем потом. Ногами потными потоптали и вам продали. Надо снимать еще.
Это как мы на бульваре прикалывались с пустяками.
Да.
Соберем арбуз? Fastball, curveball.
Hey, take a picture.
Like I think crazy now.
Be back your fish?
Want some fish?
No thanks.
Medicine can, medicine
You want some?
can do. No,
No?
I know what it is.
Oh, yeah, it's tasty, yeah. Awesome.
Как называете?
Нерка.
Нерка?
Nirpa.
Нерпа.
Нерка.
Нерка.
Let's go take a picture before I start talking.
Давай.
And at first I was really not
See a little video camera person in the back of my frame.
Huh?
Видишь, салат на стене идет.
I am loving just like traveling through this country and doing all this stuff. He's become so fixated on getting just with the boss here.
Okay, go.
Wait, hang on a second. I have to clear this with the boss. This is a note when we were at the Sprint office.
Probably not.
Sensor here. There you go. That's what I figured. Ready?
Yeah.
Rolling. So when we were in Chita and we were having a lot of trouble with the phone lines, we were actually at the Sprint office. And so the guy said, here, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll go to the node and I'll pull out every other box where all the other wires are connected. So we pulled out every other box except the ones we were working on. So who knows, everybody else in Chita who wanted to use the node, too bad for them, but we did finally manage to send all of our stuff.
Откуда?
all started back
Score.
in 300. Are you filming actually right now?
Start?
No, because we don't know if the sound's working. This is a test. We're testing the sound. Testing. On voice right now. Now we're going to go from voice to... The other thing is we have two types of...
All right, go for it.
What do you want?
Well, tell me a bit about, first of all, just give me a little history about why you wanted to, why you started this, why you came up with the idea.
Okay, the basic idea came from conversations with some friends who are actually also involved in the project, the people on the receiving end of this project called Focal Point, where all of us had a photography background, and we were looking at what was happening with the internet and the web as things were starting to happen. We just felt people weren't utilizing the medium for what it was, that people were repackaging material that was already produced for magazines or books or even if it was new material, they were still treating it in a very traditional way, and we just felt that this is a new medium. It deserves a different type of a treatment. It's about interactivity. It's about it has a certain immediacy to it that you can't get in a magazine.
So tell me what's significant about this in terms of what's never been done before. Like, what are you starting?
Well, I think there's been a lot of people who've done things, similar types of things, travel journal type things. There's been a lot of photography type things. I think this is the first time that two professional journalists have worked on a project of this scale, I guess. And the first time that
Also, like going across Russia too. I don't think anybody else has tried to do sort of a regular series of uploads onto the internet from Russia.
No, definitely they haven't. That hasn't been done. But from a global perspective, it's I just think that it's from everybody's point of view, from the journalist's point of view, from the people who are on the other side receiving the material. And this whole thing the whole project was conceived from the beginning as a web project rather than a project that we were already working on, as a book or on a CD or something like that, and then putting it on the web. The web was always the primary goal, I guess, the primary medium in mind. And then, before I was so rudely interrupted
By a dead battery.
Unprofessional camera person. This project was web first, and then we'll probably try to do something with it afterwards, in a more traditional media. So,
Because one thing that Gary had said to me when he was telling me about what the project was like was that a lot of the journalism that's on the web today, like he's saying, starts out in, say, for example, a magazine form. You've got Time Magazine, and then they put it on. Actually, I shouldn't say Time Magazine, should I?
sure.
It's got Time Magazine, and then they put their version online on the web. But basically, it's the exact same magazine that started out as a magazine, and it works best in magazine format. So this is something that's going the opposite direction. It's planned for the web. It's planned to use the web's special sort of attributes that no other medium has.
Because if you don't, if you just put Time Magazine on the web, or if you put photographs, photographs on the web are not, I don't like to look at pictures on a computer screen, basically. It takes a long time for them to download, and they're not the best quality. Nothing looks better than in a book or in a magazine. So if I'm going to just read Time Magazine or look at a photography book, I'd rather look at it, in a book on my couch, with a beer. But there's several beers. But if okay, we like to sit on it, read it, with a cup of coffee. I like to look at I'd prefer to look at a book or a magazine, with a cup of coffee on the couch. So the point of this is that we need to, as journalists who are going to be working on online projects, need to create projects that give you something you can't get in Time magazine, something you can't get in a newspaper. And so what is that? I mean, it's interactivity. It's this two-way type of relationship, or even three-way type of relationship between the journalist, the subject, and the reader. It's not just between us and the reader, but it's can also be between the reader and the subject. You know.
Give me an example of the interactivity and the significance.
Well, we had, I can tell the story about the reader he's in Toronto, right, Karim?
Yeah.
We had a guy who was reading, following us on the web, and he lives in Toronto. He's actually a Tatar. He grew up in Russia, and he left Russia only 5 years ago. He wrote into us, and he said, I left Russia 5 years ago. I have not seen my wife and son since. Can you please stop by there? Here's my wife's telephone number. Stop by. I would really love to see a photograph of them on the web. So Gary and I went and met this family, and they were fabulous. They made us lunch, and it was all really lovely, and we took photographs and have uploaded them now onto the web. But that's an example of, how this medium is really immediate. Here this guy writes in and says, can you please do this? And we made a change in our plans and did something on the trip that was suggested to us by him that we never would have known to do otherwise. And it's something that's really moving and really nice. And we also made a tape of the sons giving little messages to their father. And so we literally take those pictures and do those sound bites, and then literally 3 days later, he can download that information in Canada and see his sons that he hasn't seen in 5 years, which is really nice. A good example of the immediacy, which obviously you can't do with a magazine or a book.
Can you give me an examples of feedback of stuff that you've done and you've gotten immediate feedback from people who are looking at it on the web?
I think that most of the feedback that we've gotten has been more from people looking at it and saying, yeah, this is the right direction. This is like the first time, we're seeing, it's kind of like the future of not photojournalism, but journalism in general, that, people have been, there's a lot of hype about the internet and the web and all these things, and a lot of it is just hype. But I think a lot of people have seen, this may not be the perfect project, there's been a lot of bugs, but it is definitely a step in the direction that I'm sure things are going to go. We're doing, and one of the other things we've done is we've been adding sound. In fact, we're using our microphone right here. We wanted to put sound bites in, and even though we're not doing a lot of sound because it's difficult, we thought it was important that was to put another medium into it. And if we could, we'd be putting video in it too. And I think in the next couple of years, as compression technologies and get better, that you're going to be being able to put in video, and so I think the future journalist is going to be walking around, with a lot of equipment, with their laptop, with their video camera, with their still camera, and with their, a tape recorder, or maybe it's going to be one type of a, all-in-one unit that it's going to be able to do all these different things. But it's definitely going to change the way people, journalists work. People are going to demand that, I think.
Do you think that in a couple of years, magazines will be out of business?
No, I don't think print will ever... No, I don't think there's any, I don't think it's like a one or the other type of a thing. I like magazines. I'd hate to, think of not having magazines or books around. I don't think it's going to change. I think they're going to, just live in harmony. And, newspapers didn't go away when television came around. I don't think this is...
But will it?
The biggest change, or the most interesting aspect of what's happening, is to produce television, to produce a newspaper, to produce a magazine. You need this huge organization behind it to put out this kind of information. And you can be a talented person and have a good idea, unless you can get a magazine or a newspaper or a television station to back you with financing, or even with with a way to get the information out. You don't have that possibility now. One person who's got a digital camera and a power book and a modem can put his message out to the world. And I think that's what's going to change things. And it's much more, as people are calling it, a more democratic type medium, but it's true. You have the power to reach a lot of people with very little overhead involved.
Can you just give me an example of costs?
Well, the PowerBook was about $3,000, you know, and it was not, you know, it's nothing incredibly fancy. Just that's about enough memory and everything for us to handle the photographs and the sound. The camera is quite expensive. Right now, I think it's retailing for like $15,000 to $18,000, basically. But you know, it's a pretty sophisticated camera. There's already another. We're carrying a backup camera, which is Kodak's like consumer model, which retails for about $1,000, I think, right now. And I think Apple has a similar type of a camera out. And I mean, you can only imagine in 2-3 years that the camera I'm using today will be half the size and probably 1/10 as expensive as it is right now. Can't.
Well, the question is, you know, what haven't I asked you directly about the potential of this and why it is so important? You know, what were other people doing that you saw wasn't being used to its full potential in what other people were doing?
Well, it's because, again, it goes back to this whole traditional media thing, that the original players in this, you know, in the journalistic, online journalistic game have been the same people who are producing the traditional media that we read. And it's until, you know, I think younger people with kind of fresh ideas are going to come along who understand the medium, who understand the you know, how to use it and are going to experiment with it, because that's really what needs to happen right now is experimentation, to kind of push the limits and see where you can go with it, you know. And I think that these yeah.
What would you like to see in the future? You know, if you could come up with your ultimate dream where you're the one who started this, you're the pioneer. You know, where would you where would you like to see people go with it? You know.
It just seems to me, one of the interesting things about this is that when Gary started talking to me about the trip, he was the one, he was planning in the initial stages and talking to me about it. One of the things that he said was, it doesn't make sense to put magazines on the web exactly as they are in magazines. And as incredible as that seems, I mean, that's a very logical thing to say. I mean, it's a very logical conclusion to reach, but that's what everybody says after the pioneers already sort of make that decision. I mean, that's obviously true. Like, now we can see, especially on this trip, we've seen in ways we had only hoped that we would find out, how this medium can be used in ways that print cannot be used, and even television cannot be used. And now you can look back and say, well, of course, I mean, that only makes sense, but it's really sort of the very first step in saying these are different ways that this medium can be used. It has not been used before, because the web, it's not as though it's only been around for a couple of months. It's been around, how long has the web been around?
Years.
I think, no, it's been around for more than a year, though, you know, and it's just, now we get so many letters from people who are writing in and saying, I've been surfing the web for so long, and this is the first time I've ever seen anything of this scope, of this range, and congratulations. I mean, it's almost as though people sort of knew that it was going to go in a direction that it needed to go in, but nobody had really done it yet. This is the first time something of this scope has been done. Gary?
Lisa, it's true. And again, I do want to stress that it's both sides, you know. I mean, the guys who are working on the other sides of this, who are editing the medium, editing the film and putting the website together, which we couldn't do it without them. You know, they're also professionals, people who have a background in photojournalism and in journalism in general. So what I said about the experimentation is true. I mean, you need new people with fresh ideas, but you also need people who have a kind of a professional background. I think that's what making this project is so strong, is that we're totally open to a new approach to our work. In fact, I think we were all kind of bored with what we were doing, and that's one of the reasons that, you know, we all got motivated about doing this. But on the other hand, we've all worked as professionals, you know, in journalism for a while now, so I think it gives it an extra sense of legitimacy, maybe, than, you know, some of the other websites where guys are just kind of, you know, John's website, and, you know, here's a picture of, you know, my grandmother or something like that.
Go breaking my heart.
Oh, you're on.
Don't go breaking my...
Which is which?
I I
Name
can
that tune.
tune in
That's it.
3 notes.
3 notes. Even fewer. It's interesting. It's interesting to see people's reactions when we come into their homes and start laying out all this computer equipment, and we have these 2 laptops and 3 cameras and the digital stuff and all these wires and everything. And when we start showing people, they're very surprised, I think. I mean, some of them hadn't even thought of the possibility that this type of technology could already exist. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, I had never seen a digital camera either until Gary first came to St. Petersburg just a little less than 2 months ago and showed me the technology. But it's interesting. Some Russians see what we're doing, and they have the reaction that a lot of Russians sometimes have when they're meeting Americans or Westerners, and that is, wow, look how far ahead you guys are. This is really incredible. And they're even more surprised to find out that in Russia you can get onto the World Wide Web and see what it is that we're doing. And they're really surprised to find out that we get mail from Russians all the time who are writing into the site and saying, wow, I'm writing from Moscow, this is really great. And, you know, I mean, there's people all over this country that have access to the web and are seeing it. And I think that probably surprises the Russians more than anything, because they've sort of come to expect in a lot of ways that Americans are a little, you know, farther ahead as far as technology is concerned. But then when they find out that right here, you know, that we're sending all of this information, sound and digital photos and text and everything through the telephone lines in their living room where they talk on the telephone every day, that's one thing that really, really surprises them. So.
Can you tell me some of the problems of trying to use Russian backwards technology? And just I just want you to tell me. I mean, I know what they are, but I want you to
Right.
tell me on tape. You know, the phone line socket, whatever. Right.
I'll say the phone. That's just delicate part of our thing. Actually, I have to be honest, it's gone smoother than I thought it would, technically. I was like petrified by the idea of trying to send stuff here. The way it's structured for us is that we have... Can I mention Sprint? I mean, I just have to as a point of...
Sure,
Is that
go
the problem?
ahead.
Okay. The way it works for us is that we're working with Sprint, who has local nodes in most of the cities that we're in. So once we get to the Sprint node, and the node is basically...
It's a big box with
a big box with a lot of wires. The node is like the control center of the phone lines, basically. It's where all the phone connections go through. But we have to get to that Sprint node. Once we get to the Sprint node, then the lines are in theory are clean all the way back to America to sending our material. But we still have to get to that Sprint node, and even sometimes we're in the Sprint office, we have to use a local telephone line to get to that node, and that's where we really run into the problems. And it varies from city to city, from apartment to apartment. You know, so
What's the longest you've had to wait?
we spent one time about 10 hours transmitting all of our material, which is it's just a long time to sit waiting.
In comparison to had it been done in the States, how long would it have taken?
Done in the States, you could have done the same thing well, actually, in that same 10-hour download, I had a message back from the guys in San Francisco at Focal Point, who said it took them about, I think, an hour to up or to download the stuff that we had sent. So, but even here it varies. You know, I mean, here it varies from city to city. Our average photograph can take between 5 minutes to 15 minutes. Depending on how the quality of the line and I don't know, and like if the gods are, you know, smiling on us that day, and which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you have 30 pictures to send, that's a considerable amount of difference for each picture.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is just that, I mean, just if you can get the stuff to the nodes, it's fine. It goes off fine. And that's one of the most difficult things. It's just the local telephone lines. It's just, you know, and I've had Russians tell me, I can call from here to Moscow with no problem. But if I try to call my neighbor across the block, I can't hear a word they're saying. So you never do know whether the lines are going to be good or whether they're going to be bad. We were in Ulan-Ude and we were sending there, and we expected, Ulan-Ude is not a big place, and we were thinking we might have some problems there, but it turns out that a French company had come in and put down some phone lines, and we just were astonished at how quickly everything went. So it all really, I mean, the technology, once you get to the Sprint node, is all great, everything's fine, and everything just depends on what's the quality of the telephone line in this person's living room that we're in right this second. when we were in Vladivostok, we had all kinds of problems sending from where we were staying. We went, a kilometer away to an office in town, plugged in, and everything was fine. Everything went off fine. So it's really just a toss-up in a lot of ways as to what kind of lines you're going to get and how long it's going to take. Okay, so we went to this Buryat village outside of Ulan-Ude, and that was kind of interesting because it's really, the village itself, in many ways you can say, well, I don't want to say it's pretty. Let me start over. We went to this Buryat village outside of Ulan-Ude, which is the capital of Buryatia. Learn your geography, kids. Sorry, take that out. And it was a very, very small village, small enough. They had electricity, obviously, and the family actually had TV, VCR, whatever, but they didn't have any running water. Very, very small village, very far removed. And to make a telephone call, other than locally within the village itself, which was a very, very small area, you had to go to the sort of city town administrator and order a call and that sort of thing. So when we got there, we were interested to see what their reaction would be to the technology. And it was interesting because they weren't shocked by it. They didn't seem sort of really, really surprised by what we had done, but they were really interested to see. I mean, one of the most amazing things, it's still amazing for me when I see it, is that Gary takes the photographs and then pops the disc right out, sticks in the computer, and the photographs come right up on screen. And so we spent evenings with the whole Buryat family crowded around, and Gary sitting at the table with his computer, and them all looking at the photographs that we had literally just taken of them. And we were doing that at one point, and the father of the family looked and he said, I'd really like to have a photograph of my family. Is there any way to make this something that you can send to us? And we said, yeah, sure, there's a way we can do that. We'll get your address. And he said, because we've never had a photograph of my family before. We've never had a photograph ever where all of the whole family was in it. It's him and his wife, and they have 2 kids. One's 8 and one is 10, I think. And I just was amazed by that, because here we were taking a family portrait of this family in Buryatia and uploading it onto the World Wide Web, and instantly all over the world people can be looking at this photograph of this family, and the family itself has never in its existence had a photograph taken of everybody in the family. So I found that really interesting.
Laura язык, да.
А есть много лесбиянок?
Есть, но пока мы еще контакт наладимся. Письма приходят.
Да.
Просто есть просят, а мы знаем, куда деваться, не знаем, куда деваться.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Все
Dark hair?
все чувствуют
Dark hair?
совсем одинаково.
Yeah. St. Petersburg, I met him. We spent 2 or 3 days.
Нет, вот мы же говорим о том, что у нас очень много писем приходит, у нас есть такая...
Сейчас только посмотреть, это не окей? Grish, right here. That's fine. The pose is nice, but I don't like the background. So I'm going to move the chair. So don't forget how they're sitting. I like the
Мне
pose.
очень нравится, как вы вот все, вот это очень как-то натурально и хорошо, но в фоне мне не нравится.
А,
Так что
это-
он хочет просто вот двинуть, передвинуть стойку.
For that.
Yeah, that probably this. Andy, you're my friend. I'll get you out of there in a second.
Okay.
What do you want? So no, it's okay. Just turn.
I am I switch off?
That's fine. Breaking thing. I have a problem with that sometimes. Sorry. It's just as clean as possible for Richard. Okay. I need my watch. Okay, we need to just a little bit. Sure. Okay.
So many
Just
difficulties.
always with light. It's fine.
Depart the house, as usual.
Мешает? Huh?
А?
Ему мешает?
Да, он больше всего
Just trying to make it just a clean, simple background as well.
простой фон.
I kind of figured people. Okay, I think it's looking better. Go try that, huh? Look at this. You need it, Lisa?
Sorry?
You get music, huh?
Yeah. It's my song.
Sorry. I was getting a reading on my face. Okay, guys, here we go.
The. Get close to it. Close to it. So get a magazine. Please. Good. Flip it out. Okay. Is it okay? Light? It's okay. Close to it. Or no, totally. Eyes. Very nice. Put много photo. Okay, now. А? Это буду много. Это как... This is how it works. No, не надо много фото, один... Хорошо. Okay? Okay.
Hey, Lisa, can you get in my jacket, there's another lens inside there.
Давайте соберусь. Все закрылись. Да, свое. Ну, тогда все, пас, приходите.
Fault.
No. It's not important because tomorrow it will be all
Toya. Toya. Hold on. Let's, can we turn off the TV back there, please? Close to. Direct himself a little bit more towards Koya in the picture.
Direct it, like,
Direct his head to his face a little more.
просто если бы как-то, как say, just like turn his head a little.
Чуть-чуть move that. Where? Close to it, towards Koya.
Yeah,
No, wait. I got anything said. Like that. Coast is fine. I'm sorry. Coast is fine. Toya. Yeah. A little more with your head, like kind of on your shoulder. Yeah, more like here. That's better. Okay. That's nice. Huh? That's fine. Okay, Sandy and seeing you there, okay?
All right.
Again, try that.
Я тоже.
Да.
Вот, пиши, я знаешь, что надо отвечать. Они еще не снимали, у меня сейчас только еще если целый день снимают,
No, but just for one picture though. I just want to get one nice portrait.
Нет,
You have to do.
просто делается много фотографий, потом когда они смотрятся, выбирается какая-то одна, знаешь. Поэтому не всегда.
Light.
Знаешь? Да. Нет, дело в том, что я живу в этом городке, это самое там, что делать в этом 25, 32.
Может, я сзади стану?
Behind?
Сзади.
Stand up behind.
No, no,
No,
no.
no, no, no.
Professional photographer.
Don't be showing me wiping off my lens with my shirt like that. I need to. You're starting to. You're blocking my light.
Yeah, wine,
Get
wine.
out of my light.
Wine, wine.
Up, but. Yeah, well. It's our life maybe. Busy man. No, don't put that on Canadian TV.
That's right.
Don't think that. They wouldn't put that on, would they? They'll edit that, won't they? Canadians are so.
We need to have a message for the young people of Canada, and to our northern neighbors in Canada.
Just say yes.
Just say yes.
To what?
Everything. Life.
Exactly. If you ever get a chance to come
Peace.
to Nova Scotia, young people of Canada, I think you should do it. That's my advice.
That's our advice. That's my advice too. Whenever Lisa says, oh shit.
Whatever I say, Gary contradicts. But he does it in a very polite way, which is better. Young people of Canada, the internet is whoa.
See this?
No.
This would have been interesting for them, I think.
Yes. But we drink a lot.
I imagine.
Do and then I compare. Connect. Choo some. And then butterfly. It's just on me, 11 minutes of TC. To ask his age. It is and how do you think? And how I look.
I have a problem where I just turned 33
3 months ago.
3 months ago, in August. People keep asking me how old I am, and I say 30.
Once, one of my friends, no, acquaintance, asked how old I am. How do you think how old I am? I said that I told him that if you want to know if a person is or not, ask his age. And if they don't ask, the direct question is that the guy is gay. It's, I am not 100%, but 90, 95, it's...
Мы так и подумали. Потому что, наверное, очень трудно найти в себе гея.
Журналисты, и мы же путешествуем все недели.
А вы журналист, а вы где работаете?
Но вот этот проект необычный. То есть все будет не в газете, а на интернете. Через компьютер
Я понимаю, что это больше, чем журнал или газета. То есть на компьютере есть такая эстетика.
Это понятно. То есть каждый желающий может вступать.
Нет, не в этом дело. То есть это есть канал определенный, да? Вот имейл есть такое понятие, как электронная почта. Вот, то есть это значит на них ответ. В принципе, вот такая. То есть тебе не надо портить бумагу.
Понятно?
Нам нужно ждать ответа.
Yeah, it's very convenient. It's on the other side. There is no papers.
Because we're talking about this today. Before, if you wanted to do be it if you had a piece of work that you wanted to publish to many people, you had to either go to a magazine, or you had to publish a book, or on television. So you needed a big company with a lot of money to help you do this. Now, two people with a little bit of money by themselves can put out a publication to millions of people around the world.
Это даже и получается и дешевле, потому что если сделать
А это ваша инициатива, вот приехать, допустим, сюда или как-то по типу командировки?
Егор вообще, он все придумал сам, вот этот проект.
Ну и довольно или как? Слушай.
Конечно.
Но они разные группы людей. На Байкале они все были. Они с учеными беседовали. Они с девушкой, которая работает на снегах.
Видите, как повезло вам. Мы живем тут целую жизнь. Не бывает там.
This is how lucky you are. We've lived there our whole lives, never been to Vladivostok and all these different places. Да, ну просто проект. У нас большинство новостей из России, из Москвы и из Петербурга. Про Ельцина, про мафию, про ну, разные всякие. Мы не хотели его делать про... Да, мы не хотели писать правду специалистов.
Именно в Сибири или вообще в России?